It's your senior year of college, and you have no idea what comes next. You don't want a cubicle, you don't want to sell insurance, you want to serve your country, but the thought of marching in uniform feels wrong, too visible. So, late one night, alone in your dorm, you type something into a search engine, something you've never told anyone. You find a website. No logo, no flashy graphics, just a list of government job openings. Boring stuff, but one catches your eye. Foreign Service Officer. You click it, fill out a form, forget about it. 3 months later, you get a phone call. A woman with no emotion in her voice says, "Your application has been pre-screened. Please report to this address. Tell no one." You hang up, and just like that, your old life is over. You're 22 years old. You're sitting in a windowless room in Virginia. Across from you, a man who hasn't smiled in 20 years hooks you up to a machine. You've stolen something in your life. What was it? You stammer. "I took a pencil from work once?" He doesn't laugh. He writes it down. This is the polygraph. And it's not about the pencil. It's about watching you squirm. It's about seeing if you'll crack when asked about your college girlfriend, your experimental phase sophomore year, the time you lied on a resume. They interview your ex-roommate, your high school debate coach, the neighbor who watched you grow up. And you can't tell any of them why strangers are asking questions. Then one day, you're on a bus. The bus drives deep into the Virginia woods, past a guarded gate, past signs that say nothing. You've arrived at the farm. And here's the first truth they teach you. You are not special. You are a blank hard drive, and they are going to wipe you clean and install new software. You learn how to lose a tail in a foreign city, how to dead drop a message inside a park bench, how to recruit the stranger and make them betray their country for you. You fail constantly. You're screamed at by instructors who served in places you've never heard of. You sleep 4 hours a night. One day, a classmate just disappears. No goodbye, no explanation. You learn never to ask. So, what's it like to be a trainee at the farm? It's like being reborn, but the birth takes 2 years and no one holds your hand. You graduate, you get your first posting. Your cover? Second secretary at the American Embassy in a Middle Eastern capital. To your family, you're a diplomat. To your friends from college, you've gone quiet. To the locals, you're just another American bureaucrat. But at night, you go to diplomatic parties. And you're not there for the wine. You're looking for someone. Someone who works for the host government. Someone who's underpaid, overlooked, bitter. Someone who might be willing to trade secrets for cash, or ego, or just someone to talk to. You find him, a mid-level intelligence officer. His wife is sick, his boss ignores him. You become his friend. You listen. Months pass. Then one night he hands you a document. Just a photocopy, but it's everything. You file your first real intelligence cable back to Langley, and no one will ever know your name. But here's what they don't show in movies. Most of your life is paperwork. Endless cables back to headquarters, budget requests, performance reviews. You miss birthdays. You miss funerals. You tell your mother you can't come home for Christmas, again, and you can never, ever tell her why. So, what's it like to be a case officer? It's 95% boredom, 4% fear, and 1% moments that make the rest of it almost worth it. But maybe you weren't meant for cocktail parties. Maybe you were the kid who loved action movies, who played soldier in the backyard, who joined ROTC just to feel the weight of a rifle. If that's you, you go to Tier 2. You volunteer for the Special Activities Division, the SAD, the paramilitary arm of the CIA, the ones who never wear a suit. Your cover isn't diplomat. Your cover is I was never here. You're inserted into hostile territory with no passport, no flag, no embassy to call for help. You work with local militias. You call in airstrikes using a satellite phone. You snatch high-value targets from compounds in the middle of the night. You live on adrenaline and bad MREs. You shower once a week. You sleep with one eye open. One night, your team gets ambushed. The guy next to you, the one who told you about his daughter's piano recital yesterday, takes a round. You carry him to the extraction point. He doesn't make it. You get back to base, you file a report, you're given a new teammate 3 days later. No therapy, no counseling, just a new face and a mission brief. And you tell no one. Not your parents, not your girlfriend, not even yourself if you can help it. So what's it like to be a paramilitary officer? It's 99% boredom and 1% sheer paralyzing terror. And that 1% lives in your head forever. But maybe you're not the trigger puller. Maybe you're the one watching the screen. You're a staff operations officer. You work in a bunker in Langley, Virginia. You haven't seen the sun in 3 days. Your job, watch the drone feed, listen to the radio chatter, guide the team on the ground. When they whisper, you hear it. When they run, your heart races. When they go silent, you wait. One day, the chatter stops, just static. You hear breathing, then gunfire, then nothing. You don't know what happened for 6 hours. 6 hours of staring at a blank screen, sipping cold coffee, willing them to come back online. They don't. You write the memo, you notify the families, you go home at 2 a.m. and stare at your ceiling. And tomorrow, you'll be back in that bunker, because the missions don't stop. So what's it like to be the wire? You're the voice in the operator's ear. When they succeed, no one knows your name. When they die, you carry them forever. Maybe you were the kid who took apart the family computer, who loved gadgets, who thought in code. You're a technical operations officer. Your weapon isn't a gun. It's a laptop, a bug, a listening device small enough to hide in a hotel room light switch. Your job is simple. Go where the spies go and plant what they need you to plant. You fly to a hostile capital. You check into a hotel. You have 20 minutes to install a listening device in the room of a foreign diplomat while he's at dinner. If you're caught, no embassy, no extraction. You don't exist. You get the job done. You fly home. No one shakes your hand. No one says, "Good job." You just get a new target and a new flight. The cost. You spend your life in sterile labs and anonymous hotel rooms. You develop skills no civilian job can use. You learn to trust no one. And you realize, slowly, that you're more valuable than a shooter because you can get in and out without anyone ever knowing you were there. But you're also more alone. So, what's it like to be the gadget? You're a ghost with a soldering iron. Invisible, indispensable, and completely on your own. You climb. Years pass. You're not in the field anymore. You're a chief of station. You run operations in an entire country. You manage budgets, personnel, egos. You sign off on missions that send young officers into danger. You remember being that young officer. You remember the fear. Now you're the one creating it. The phone rings at 3 a.m. It's always 3 a.m. A mission went wrong. An officer is missing. You have 20 minutes to decide. Send a rescue team and risk more lives, or wait and hope. You wait, you hope. You don't sleep for 3 days. The officer comes back, broken but alive. You visit him in the hospital. You don't know what to say, so you say nothing. The wait? You wanted to be in the field, but now you manage the field, and every decision you make feels like a betrayal of the person you used to be. So what's it like to be middle management at the CIA? You carry the weight of every decision, every death, every young face you sent into danger, and you carry it alone. And then, the top. You're on the 7th floor of Langley, the director's floor. You brief the president. You sit in rooms where the fate of nations is decided over coffee and stale pastries. You know secrets that could destabilize governments. You know the names of every officer lost on your watch. You carry them all. You live in a gilded cage, surrounded by security, trusted by almost no one. You can't have real friends. You can't have candid conversations. Every word you speak is measured, recorded, analyzed. You have the ear of power, but you have no one to talk to. The reality? And one day, you realize you haven't had a genuine conversation in 20 years. You don't know how anymore. So what's it like to be at the top? It's the loneliest place in the world, because the higher you climb, the fewer people exist who can ever really know you. And one day, it's over. You retire. You get a quiet pension, a nondescript plaque, a handshake from a deputy you've never met. You go home, to a house that's too quiet, to a family that learned to live without you. You try to explain to your wife, your kids, the friends who stuck around, but the words don't exist. You try to tell them about the farm, about the polygraph, about the friend who didn't make it back, about the 3 a.m. phone calls and the drone feeds and the hotel rooms in hostile capitals. But they just nod. They don't understand. They can't. Because the secrets don't just belong to the agency anymore. They're a part of you, woven into your DNA, etched into the spaces between your memories. You've spent your life in the shadows, learning to move in darkness, learning to be invisible. Now you have to learn something harder. You have to learn how to live in the light.